Hi, my name is Christy Whitman, and I'm going to show you step by step how to create your ideal body within 8 short weeks and how to keep your ideal body forever right now in this free presentation. You'll learn exactly how to create your ideal body without dieting, without food restrictions, and without guilt. I promise. Plus, you'll learn the best advice that will ensure that you actually keep your ideal body forever, unlike those fly-by-night crash diets that we've all experienced. This is a completely opposite from the run-of-the-mill advice that you typically get from all doctors, trainers, and diet programs that you see out there. I'm going to warn you though, I have a lot of friends in the industry who do not like what I have to say, so I'm not going to leave this presentation up for long. So if you're ready, then let's get started. First, we really need to define what does it mean to create your ideal body. You are totally different from everyone else, and while you might want to lose 20 pounds in the first month, by following my advice, that may not be what's ideal for you. How much you lose in the first month really depends more on how much you have to lose in total, and less on how much you'd like to lose. So meaning, if you're 30 pounds overweight, losing 20 pounds in the first month, it just isn't realistic, nor is it healthy. If you're 100 pounds overweight, losing 20 pounds or more in the first month is actually quite easy and still very healthy. So let's take a second look to define what your ideal body looks like, and then I'll show you what you need to do to be able to create it quickly. So what would your ideal body look like? I'm going to challenge you not to think about it in weight or how many pounds you have to lose, but what would you look like? What would you feel like? What's ideal for you? What's ideal for your specific body and body type? And what do you actually look like? What does it feel like? And can you see it? Can you feel it? Great. Now, let's talk about getting you there quickly and more importantly, keeping you there forever. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to show you how to create your ideal body without dieting, without food restrictions, and without guilt. To do this, we have to realize why diets don't work, why restricting yourself in any way will only lead to failure and guilt, and ultimately to putting the weight that you've worked so hard to lose back on, and then you beat yourself up. Most diets tell you what you should and shouldn't eat, right? It doesn't matter if they're low carb, slow carb, no carb, counting calories, eating only raw foods, or whatever else is trendy at the moment. They're all based on restrictions. They're all based on telling you what to do, right? Let me ask you this. When someone tells you to do something, what's your initial reaction? If you're like 98% of the rest of the world, your initial reaction is not to do it. It doesn't mean that you may not choose to do it, but your initial subconscious reaction is to say no and not to do it, right? So if I walked up to you on the street and said, hey, give me $5, what's your instant response? No. And while you may ask, why should I give you $5? You're doing this because your subconscious mind already decided no, and you're trying to consciously see if there's a good reason to change your mind. This is the same dynamic whenever someone asks you to do something. You initially say or just think no, and then if they can convince you, you might change your mind and do it. This is a natural human reaction that's been ingrained into our subconscious mind since we were kids. Here's just an example of how this came to be. Think back when you were a little kid and you were in a store with your parents and you asked them to buy you a toy. What was their answer 99% of the time? What about when you asked to stay up late and watch television on a school night? What was their answer? What about when you wanted to go out and play before doing your homework? What was their answer? You see, when we were kids, we always wanted something. We were always asking to do something or to have something, and most of the time our parents would say no. And you can't blame them. If they let you do whatever you wanted, you wouldn't have got yourself into more trouble than you already did, right? They were looking out for you and what they thought was in your best interest. Whether you agreed with them or not is a totally different story. The main point is, we're taught from a very young age that no is a standard response when you ask for something. Just ask any salesperson. They'll tell you that it takes 5 no's before you actually get a yes. Why? Because this is simply ingrained in our subconscious mind, and it becomes our natural human reaction when we're asked or told to do something. Our subconscious mind naturally says no until we can rationalize or convince our conscious mind that we should say yes. So, when we decide to go on a diet that restricts us and tells us that we can only have certain foods, we immediately feel restricted, and we naturally don't want to do it. Right? But then we look at all the facts, read more about it, and decide that we should give it a try because we want to lose the weight. We convince ourselves to say yes. We say yes to the diet and the restrictions. But unfortunately, this isn't a decision that we only make once and then we're done. This is a decision that we have to make over and over and over every single minute, hour, and day. Every time you get hungry, every time you're following a diet that tells you what you can and cannot eat, you have to fight your natural response of no and convince yourself that you should follow the diet. This is where willpower comes into play. I like to think of willpower as your inner cheerleader telling you to stick to the diet, or better yet, the little angel on your shoulder whispering in your ear to do the right thing. I know it sounds kind of funny, but think about it for just a second. You use willpower to do something that's good for you, yet not something that you would naturally do, like choosing between eating a piece of cake or eating a carrot. Naturally, you want to eat the cake, right? I mean, it sounds a little tastier than a carrot. But then your willpower angel chimes in and says, hey, you're trying to lose weight, and you know that cake isn't allowed on your diet. Why don't you eat a carrot instead? Now, if this is day 1 of your diet, chances are that your willpower is strong and you're able to convince yourself to choose the carrot. But if it's day 15 of your restricted diet and you're offered a piece of cake, your willpower angel may not do a good job of convincing you to eat the carrot. Or if she does, you may tell her to shut up. Not only do you have your willpower trying to convince you to make the good choice, you also have your subconscious mind naturally fighting against being told what to do. So we have this inner battle going on inside of us every time we're on a restrictive diet. It's like the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other one. And whenever we feel hungry on a restricted diet, we have to choose the angel or the devil. And that sucks. Quite frankly, it's just too hard. This is why almost all diets fail. It's just too much to ask of any person to fight this battle at every meal and expect to win. On top of all that, when you break your diet by eating that piece of cake, you start to feel guilty and you beat yourself up. You start to beat yourself up for eating it, and then you feel down and depressed. And what happens when we feel down? We usually turn to food, and not the good ones. I've yet to meet someone who's felt a bit down and turned to a bag of carrots to feel better. Nope, they usually turn to a bag of chips or cookies, piece of cake, or Ben & Jerry's starts to become their best friend. So, what do we do about this? Well, the first thing is we need to realize is that the old weight loss formula that everyone teaches, it just isn't accurate. You see, almost every doctor, trainer, dietitian, or other weight loss expert will tell you that to lose weight, you have to eat right and work out. They tell you that 80% of your results will come from what you eat or don't eat, and 20% will come from exercise. I actually think of it that's way off. They're forgetting the number one rule to true, everlasting weight loss. Yes, absolutely, what you eat is important. Yes, exercise is important too, but neither one of these means that you aren't going to have the results that you want. Basically, neither one of these means anything if you aren't doing them consistently. Every diet program out there is based on restrictions. Do this, don't do that. And we know how well that works, right? If they did, you wouldn't be watching this video. So what's the third ingredient that you need to see real results that last forever? Believe it or not, it has nothing to do with what you eat. It has nothing to do with how much you exercise. In fact, you'll lose more weight and keep it off longer if you just stop worrying about what you eat and how much you exercise altogether. If you want to lose weight quickly and keep it off forever, there's really only one thing that you have to do: retrain your brain. Let me explain. If you're constantly having an inner battle between your angel and your devil on what to eat, how much to exercise, and everything else, you'll end in failure 98% of the time. Seriously, how many diets have you been on? How many times have you tried to lose weight? And how long did you keep the weight off? How many of these diets were restriction-based? Listen, it's not your fault that the diets didn't work. They're inherently flawed by not addressing the fact that you have to shift your mindset, retrain your brain. And unfortunately, 98% of the people who try these diets will fail too. In reality, every diet that's out there works, and they're filled with great advice on what to eat and how to work out, but they fall short in addressing the most important part of the equation, retraining your brain so that you can lose weight. Here's what a real weight loss formula looks like. 70% of your focus should be on shifting your mindset, retraining your brain, 20% on what you eat, and 10% on exercising. This is the only real way to lose weight and keep it off. Anyone who's been successful at losing weight, regardless of the diet program they choose, lost it because they shifted their mindset. Now, they probably didn't do it because the program taught it. They just won the battle between willpower, the little angel, versus their natural instincts, the little devil. They listened to the little angel on their shoulders more than the little devil. This is hard to do, and it's why only 2% of people who try diets are successful. Look, there's an easy way to retrain your brain and guarantee that you lose the weight and keep it off forever. And you don't have to do it the hard way, the way most people try to do it. You don't have to have a fight, an internal battle at every meal and hope that you win. When you retrain your brain properly, you actually eliminate the battle altogether. So how do you retrain your brain, and how does it actually help you create your ideal body? Well, that's the exciting part. When you address the problem at the core, and you shift your subconscious mind from naturally saying no to a diet plan to saying yes, you instantly start losing weight because you don't have that constant battle going on. You see, instead of a devil on one shoulder and an angel on the other, fighting against each other every single meal, when you retrain your brain properly, you'll end up having an angel on each shoulder. Each one with pom-poms cheering you on every step of the way. Now here's the best part. Sometimes you want to eat the cake, and your little angels on your shoulder will cheer you on, because it's okay to do it. And you won't feel any guilt or shame, and you'll still be in complete integrity with yourself and your goals. Okay, so this is just one example of retraining your brain. There are more retraining that we have to do in order to see fast and immediate weight loss, which actually brings me to my next point. You'll want to write this one down. Everyone talks about losing weight, or that you're on some sort of weight loss program. Think about those words for a second. Weight loss. Now let me ask you this. What's the first thing you do when you realize you've lost something? Let's say that you're about to go to dinner and you realize that you lost your keys. What do? Exactly. You start frantically searching for your keys. The only thing on your mind is find your keys. And even